What's up, gamers and tech heads? Welcome back to Gaming TI. We got another episode for you today. I'm Imani.
And I'm Tristan. And today we're going to be going through some news topics that we found interesting in the past week or so. Starting off with just jumping right in, we got some updates on the PlayStation 5's thermals. The thermal performance. The YouTube channel Gamers Nexus. Shout out to Gamers Nexus. Always have great content.
Always good, accurate information too.
Yep. Their testing methodology is always insane. It's like sometimes I watch their videos and it's like, yo, no one's doubting you guys. It always seems like they try to justify. It's like
they're constantly trying to prove okay, this is why we're doing this, and and it's like, come on, guys, we know.
No, we trust you guys, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, they teared down the PS5 and they tested it and installed some thermal probes as best as they could without disrupting the natural construction of it. Yeah. So basically it's as accurate as testing that you can get with the PlayStation 5, and there were some issues with thermals. It was largely good.
It's better than the PS4. That's one thing.
It's definitely better than the PS4. The issue with thermals it's just the memory. The memory is running really, really hot. And for the memory to be that hot now at launch, there's no dust in the system or anything like that, and a lot of people don't clean their PlayStations or their consoles on the whole.
6 years from now, there's gonna be I would love to do a statistical analysis of how many console owners at the end of the 6-year life cycle, or however long this life cycle will be, have cleaned their PS5. I think we'd probably get maybe 30%, 40% who do.
That seems high to me. But
really, you think? I think that there's some. I mean, I think that there's some actually. Nah, you're probably right, because I haven't really cleaned my PS4. Yeah, you're right.
I was
90% people who don't.
I was thinking that has to be modestly below 20%, 20% at most. Yeah, a lot of people a console is just something you just set and forget, especially now with digital. Most of the games being digital, you're not even going anywhere near the console to
you don't really touch it.
Yeah, and now you don't even need to press the power button. You could use the controller to start the console.
The closest you might need to get is to charge the controller, if you have a cable running from it.
Yeah. So well, all that is just to say that you're probably not gonna clean it. So for it to have thermal issues, now it's only gonna get worse over time. And currently the memory is running, at least on their unit, close to 90 degrees. The thermal limit for memory is around 100. The max limit is around 115, 120 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
So it's it's not so it's not good. It's definitely not good, but it's not great performance.
Wait, did you say 120 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Celsius.
120 degrees.
Yes, yeah. So your memory could get that's a max. That's the absolute maximum value. If you have a great chip, and that's ideal scenarios for ideal bad scenarios. If you understand what I'm saying, it's you have to have a great memory chip to be able to run in that horrendous condition and not have any issues. So
no, because some some memory units, especially in like PCs and stuff, you'll find they have like a heatsink on top of them, like
Yeah,
some thermal pad with a heatsink or something.
yeah. But like the memory on the PlayStation 5 is pretty exposed. Like it's just the nature of it, right? The memory chips
Hmm.
they have to be kind of exposed. And then to add to that, when we were discussing the teardown a few months ago when it came out,
Yeah,
wow, it's kind of
that I think that
crazy
was like
seeing.
a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah, and we mentioned that it has like a huge beefy heatsink that's for the GPU and the CPU,
Hmm.
but the heatsink doesn't cool the memory, which is why
Yeah.
you're having that such high memory thermals. Uh, One good thing though, like a really good thing, is that that large axial fan at the top or
Hmm.
right
Yeah,
of
the
the
one that's
console, depending on how
it's
it's
in the
oriented.
oh yeah, if it's oriented laying down, then it'll be on the right side, and if it's standing up, it's like in the middle of the housing. That yeah, that thing that it's just on both sides,
Yeah,
has this intake on one side, out, whatever. That's just sitting in the middle there at the top.
yeah. The good the good thing about that fan is that it's a really powerful fan and it's really efficient and it's really quiet. So Sony has that fan spinning at really low speeds and you're still
Hmm.
getting passable thermals. So if they wanted to improve the thermals over time, they could ramp up that fan. But I think like you were saying, a lot of people that had PS4 complain about the noise, so they're probably not gonna do that.
I mean, I think, I really think that it's good that they at least have the capability to. I mean, again, ideally, we don't want a loud system, but worse yet, you don't want a system that doesn't work,
Yeah,
or that is, thermally limited, where you start experiencing throttling again, this console is at the start of its life cycle. It has not yet it should not yet be pushed to the point where any games that are coming out, even the releases that are for it, Spider-Man and all of these other new games, it should not be getting to the point where it's pushed to its limit yet. No, like normally these consoles are built with some overhead, so that way when future games come out, it can still push out a little bit more power, right?
yeah,
So I think that for now, maybe for this year, next year, uh, maybe even 2022, we'll be seeing games that aren't fully pushing the console to its limits, but then once it gets into its prime and its mid life cycle, that's when you're going to start to get some of the issues where maybe they're going to have to really pump up those fan speeds, and a lot of the times, that's when we're like a year or two away, to maybe 2 years away from the update, the mini or the pro version, whatever. So, which oftentimes comes with, again, more powerful hardware and ideally, hopefully better thermals, but we're still a ways away from that.
yeah, yeah. And it's not like to add to that, it's not like it would be impossible to fix the thermals. The Gamers Nexus they suggested that if the side panels, that the removable side panels on the PS5, if they had like some slats on
Yeah.
it, then it'll basically be problem solved. So
Yeah, better airflow.
that could be a fix. And they are to like I think you mentioned that there are people that are making those panels.
So, I actually was going to make some of those panels myself.
Oh,
I
mm-hmm,
was looking into it, and there was a company, because I was like, all right, if I'm gonna make these, there's two ways I can do it. I can find a company that's already making it, and then basically buy their stuff, and basically I would be molding my own panels, right?
mm-hmm,
I would buy basically a couple of panels from them. I would create my own molds and then do my own designs on those panels that I've made. Um, and that company's name was Plate Station 5 or Plate Station, I think, or something like that.
wow,
And yes, so they operated out of the UK. Sony got a hold of that real quick and said, "No." This is not gonna fly. So, they essentially sent them a cease and desist, and
Is it just because
they're
of the
no
name, or is because they were doing
it's in part of the name, but also they said that the actual panel design is infringing on their IP because it is patented apparently.
they patented that shape for a side
I
panel?
g I guess so. So their lawyers sent that company, and then the company actually had to completely rebrand and stuff because, again, they were a couple of months, if not weeks away from launching. And they basically shifted from making panels to saying, "Okay, we're just gonna make skins." That can't be illegal. So Sony, it seems to be, kinda they seem to be kinda serious about the whole, custom panels thing. I don't know if that means they're gonna be gearing up to release their own at some point. I haven't
Could be
heard any news about that. Um, but there's definitely gonna be an underground PS5 panel market, I
a
bet
black
you.
market for PS5 panels.
A black market for PS5
Could
panels,
imagine
and
imagine the deals now. It's like, yo, what you got?
open up the jacket, it's like,
Open up
I
the
got
jacket.
Spider-Man here, I got God of War over here, what you want?"
You got no cyberpunk?
Nah, man, that's delayed, bro, just like the game. Oh, man. Like, I mean, it's, I guess, Sony's well within their right to do that, but
Yes, yeah.
I think I think it's like, come on, man. Come on. Like, you've created this crazy design. Like, it is completely different. Why don't you let the people have a bit of fun? Like, and the thing is, you guys know this. Like, I've been seeing renders on Twitter and social media in general. Like, once the PS5 was revealed, like, people were like, "Oh, man, we could make some sick panels for this," right?
Yeah.
So, it's unfortunate, but, uh, I mean, even if we might not be able to make our own custom panels, if people could get their hand on first party panels from Sony, I can definitely see people doing custom designs on that anyway, like spray painting it, Spider-Man colors or whatever. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah. And
doubt that's illegal.
well, yeah, I
Actually,
don't.
no, it's still illegal. Except it's just not Sony, it's Disney that's gonna be coming after you, and Disney's very serious
Oh yeah,
about their
true. Yeah. Yeah. And
so,
like it's a shame because the panels are it's just like a blank canvas. Like it's just it
like, I feel like
screams to have a design on it, you know?
it says "Art me."
Yeah.
Like, it really is, like, the perfect canvas, and I feel like it could be a really good, like, statement. It's like again, you have this giant, tall, alien structure looking like thing that
Yeah.
is, in most cases, gonna be sitting next to your TV in a living room or next to your
Yeah.
TV in your bedroom.
And it doesn't really blend in, so it's like you could lean into that to make it stand out even
Yeah,
more.
make it a statement piece.
Yeah.
But, Sony's doing things their way, and again, I can't fault them for that. Actually, no, I can fault them for that, and I will fault them for that. Let the people do something, right? But, eh, whatever.
Yeah. I mean it is what it is.
One thing I will say is I would like to see, thermals because we do have the expandable memory slot for, like, an M2, um, that you can put into the PS5, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So the
I would
thermal
like to
yeah, yeah, the thermals and that would be interesting because uh like it would be interesting if that uses PCIe Gen 4 because that's the new PCIe.
mm,
That's well the current PCIe I should say. And
right.
the memory speeds that you could achieve on that is really really high to the point where the memory controllers can get pretty hot and you have these like when those high performance SSDs they have that what do you call it the heat spreader just to
Yeah,
deal with all that heat
yeah,
and
yeah.
you can't like if I don't think they have space to put like one of those beefy heat spreaders on in the PS5 so
No, not unless you leave the panel off or something like that, like, and you'd
yeah
also have to, like, mount it too.
Yeah, so
That would be
you would
interesting.
need one of the. I don't think you'd be able to install one of those really high performance ones. You'll probably need to like settle for like a cheaper one, which I think most people would be fine with.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people who already spend $400 or $500 on this console aren't going to be looking to spend, again, some of these M2 drives or M2 sticks, whatever you want to call it. They're not the cheapest thing, like
Nah, if you want a terabyte, it's like 150.
yeah, you
About
start at 150. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So thermals eventually will be coming soon. I've heard Xbox, just to touch on some of their thermals, they actually run quite they run quite hot. Like I've seen some numbers like right here I'm actually on CNET. Looks like they've tested the PS5 and the Xbox Series X in similar situations. The PS5 came in at a cooler temp of 92.5 Fahrenheit or 35 degrees Celsius, and the Xbox Series X came in at 121 degrees Fahrenheit or 49.5 degrees Celsius.
What
So
what
quite.
what temperature are they using?
What
Because
do you mean?
that 35 and 49, they both sound unrealistic. That's too cool. I feel
For
like they're just pointing a thermal gun at the console or something like that.
That's exactly what they're
Yeah,
they're they're pointing at the outside of the
those
console.
figures don't mean anything. It's like because yeah, those figures just tells you how hot the outside of the console is, but they don't really tell
Not
you
the
about
inside temps.
how the components are being cooled. Yeah, because that that 35 degrees Celsius that they're getting is like we talked like that's
Super cool.
there's nothing inside the console that's running that cool.
Yeah, yeah. And this is where the heat is coming out.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see like actual proper testing of the Xbox Series X. Like I'm waiting. I haven't
I
seen
think
like
it's hard to test that because of the way it's configured, right? It's like a tower,
yeah
and then once you take that sleeve off, it's very hard to, I guess, have like I mean, obviously the components will still be there, but they're all stacked so compactly.
yeah. But I mean it's kind of just similar to the PS5, right? I think it would be a bit more challenging in the sense that like how to align the thermal probes,
Hmm.
how to
Right.
get it like because of how there's like no
Get it and then keep it
spaces.
in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's just
all
like you have to run all of them through the top holes.
I hear some you're gonna have to cut out some plastic and and stick it into somewhere. There's I mean, that's the thing, like, I have to rewatch that video that, Austin Evans did, when he went to the Microsoft or wherever they designed the Xbox, and he actually saw, all of the components there and had the complete teardown experience. I have to rewatch that and see, like, what would you be able to like, really, where would you be able to fit that? Because it's super compact in there.
Yeah, I think it would be difficult to get accurate testing on that just because I think you'll need to disrupt some of the components, and then when you
Right.
do that, then it's not the stock out of the box thermals that you're getting because you
Exactly.
modified it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So, I mean, somebody's gonna figure it out.
yeah,
Gamers Nexus got us.
probably yeah. All
But
right,
yeah, so, next up we got Apple, Apple V Epic, the continuation.
continuation of that old thing.
So, I mean, I'll be the first to admit that maybe I was kinda wrong. I mean, I'm wrong quite often. Again, we're not engineers, we're not scientists, we're just a couple of guys who talk tech, right? And I very clearly said Apple will be Apple and Apple will do what Apple will do, and they're not changing anything. Well, Apple the only reason Apple is deciding to change is because as we've spoken about this before, we've had the antitrust thing, with the government, and we're talking about government intervention now, and it seems that Epic's plea has kind of how to say, added some weight to that whole antitrust situation.
Mm,
So Apple decided to take off the white gloves and they signed some papers and they said, okay, Epic's whole thing was we don't want 30%. We don't want to have to give you 30% of the revenue from the app, where we get charged a 30% fee, and Apple takes that. We don't we don't want to get charged at all. And Apple was like, yeah, that's not possible, right? And people were talking about dropping it, in half, cutting it from 30% to 15%. And Apple still said no. And then, not today or recently, Apple said, okay, we'll drop it to 15% for everybody who makes less than $1 million, so if you are on the App Store and you're a developer and I guess what you would call a small developer and you make less than $1 million, congratulations, you just netted 15% more income.
Yeah, so that you could get over that threshold and then start paying 30%.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, I mean, it's funny because you might really just sit there and be like, I really I'm cool with the 30%. But no. Yeah,
uh,
that was a nice little white glove slap in the face to Epic.
yeah, I mean, it's not this is gonna affect a lot of people, but not like the whole what do they call it? The coalition for app fairness that Epic
Yeah,
made with all
that
these
Epic
other.
started.
Yeah, none of these companies are affected by this. They make a lot more than 1 million a
Yeah,
year in App Store revenue. They probably make that in what, a few
a
hours.
couple days. Yeah, honestly, like, man, these kids be on Fortnite, man. They love Fortnite, bro.
Yep.
So
Yeah, but like if you're a smaller developer, like starting out, this is a good it's a good move.
yeah,
I think it's a move in the right direction. I don't know if they'll take it any further than this. They may
that's the
not.
thing. It really depends on government intervention. It depends on what the government decides to say what Apple has to do. And again, like, one thing that I will say about the government is a lot of the times the people who are in the government who are dealing with these situations might not actually have a full understanding of the overall topic, right? But they don't necessarily have to because they're simply tasked with making sure that business is run fairly and that there's not a monopoly.
Mm.
So as long as Epic and the entire coalition can justify or at least prove that Apple is running what can be classified as a monopoly in some sense, they might have they really might have some way in here.
You think that's difficult for them to like uh you think is you think is any question that is not a monopoly? Because like it definitely is, right? There
Yeah, but the funny thing is the way that Apple also fights it is privacy and functionality, and Apple's lawyers got their words sorted. you know
I mean that's kinda ridiculous, bro. That's kinda like Walmart denying anyone else from being able to shop in like in a neighborhood. Like they basically said like no other supermarket or anything is allowed in this area because we have the best security. And we don't think that anyone else could do security like we can do security. So you have to come to us. That's basically what Apple is saying.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's ways around it, right? Because, for example, again, Android is a more open platform. We have multiple access to different app stores. And, I mean, I think Android isn't as, how to say, smooth and put together of an ecosystem,
Definitely
whereas
agree.
Apple is.
Hmm.
But at the same time, does that justify the practices that Apple is engaging in?
Mm, no, I don't. I honestly don't think it does because you like just like it is monopolistic. Is that a
Mhm.
word? Yeah.
I mean, we gonna roll with
Yeah, yeah,
it.
sure. I should have said it with more confidence. Yeah, it's monopolistic.
Yeah,
Like 100%. It's like you can't say that you have the best security if you're not giving anyone else a chance to provide security. It's like
yeah,
like the Apple, not Apple, the Google Play Store alternatives. Like, yeah, they can definitely say, yeah, all these other alternatives are not as secure because they aren't. They aren't as secure as the Google Play Store. But at least we know that,
yeah.
and you
I mean,
still have the
give the
choice.
option to consumers.
Yeah, yeah. I guess you could say Apple is not very pro-choice. Anyway,
That's a different topic,
hot take.
but I mean, it's really interesting just because again, it's not like there isn't a blueprint for this somewhere else. Like again, Google does this, so the question will always be, well, why can't you do this? But I mean, Google has their own antitrust issues themselves. I mean, so
Yep,
that's a whole different
yep.
issue.
No, no, none of these companies are your friends. That's why,
Yeah.
like, no one should ever align themselves. I don't understand fanboying for companies, like, at all. Like, none of them are your friends. They want your money or they want your data so they can sell it for money. That's it's a
All you
company.
gotta do is just pick the company that you're most comfortable with selling your data.
Exactly. Oh god.
So, I mean, that's that. I mean, we'll keep an eye on it. Apple made their little bit of changes. We'll see if that's enough to justify. But I have a feeling that this saga is far from over. So you'll be hearing about this sooner rather than later again, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna end here. Definitely.
Nah, nah.
So like moving right along. Spotify is doing stories now, apparently.
Yeah, that's fun because I wanted stories on. I mean, I don't even use Spotify, by the way. But that's I mean, okay, hot take. I'm not a big fan of stories. Like, I get it, but at the same time, I don't get it. Like when Snapchat was the originators of stories, right? Like nobody could argue that, right? Snapchat came out with stories, and then we started seeing it trickling everywhere. Then Facebook adopted it with both Instagram and Facebook stories. And then Twitter came out this week with Twitter, like this week, last week, whatever at least I got the update, I think last week.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter stories. YouTube has stories. Everything got stories now, man.
Every single app has stories, and I mean, I don't mind it. Like I'm not like that against it as like you are and this guy Timta from that responded to Spotify's well, he tweeted about it. Yeah, I'm
I
not.
will say, even MKBHD is against stories on Spotify, at least.
Yeah, on Spotify like it's definitely a social media thing in my opinion. I don't
Yeah,
I don't see a place for it on Spotify, but like uh, on every other platform, like not every other platform, but the social media platforms, like I get it.
yeah,
I get it. It's like you don't need to like a lot of times when I open Instagram, I will just open stories and go through that. I'll probably not even scroll. Just because
yeah. I
like
can't say that I do that.
I don't know. Like I feel like the stories are more like raw, personal. I don't know. It's like people. It's not like
Maybe it
it's
also
just
depends
more
on the
intimate,
stories
you
that
know.
you've I will admit, stories are a lot more intimate, which is why I watch stories for, like, the, uh, the artists and the influencers or the content creators that I like the most, right? So, like, some of the streamers that I follow, I watch their stories because, yeah, I mean, I it's also a good way to get like a notification of like a lot of times they'll post on their story before they go live and they'll be like swipe up. And it's like, okay, cool. You know, that's I'm not gonna swipe up, but cool. Thanks for letting me know. And or they would be posting, just updates of various things that it's too little to post on as a picture or something, but then, you know, like where else do you post it, right? So stories is a nice way to get out like I feel like just simple, intimate tidbits of information, right?
But
But
do you like sorry to
no,
interrupt,
yeah, go
but
ahead.
like do you use stories personally? Like when you're like do you use it a lot? Just
Like, do I post
like
stories?
post stories, yeah.
Nope. I I okay, WhatsApp I guess technically also has stories. I occasionally post stories on WhatsApp. I have a lot of screenshots. I don't really take pictures of things and I don't really talk on camera other than on here. I should probably that's contradictory. But yeah, no, I don't really use stories very much.
Yes, you see, I feel like for someone who does post a lot, the stories could be convenient because you know that the people that are looking at your stories are usually people that care. At least when it comes to more like friend, yeah, more like
Yeah.
friends and family members and stuff like that. More like the people
Which is
in
why
your
Snapchat
circle.
stories were so important originally, or like they were so I would say almost revolutionary, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't use Snapchat, so I'm just agreeing with you. Just you're
Well, I'm just
smart, dude.
I'm just saying like as the originator of the concept of stories, right? Because Snapchat is when you like Snapchat is a pretty or at least was it has become a lot more public now. Because there's a lot of companies who post stories. There's a lot of literally shows that are on Snapchat now, on I guess what would be the equivalent of the explore page. And it didn't always used to be like that. Stories was, a lot of the people you had on Snapchat were friends, family, and you would send obviously snaps to individuals, or you would post a story and you would just, keep adding videos, pictures, or whatever to that. And I feel like Snapchat itself was like, all right, Facebook, I got everybody on there. Snapchat is where I got my core, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's kind of like where stories originated and people just loved it and everybody decided to adapt it.
yeah, and I feel like that like it translates, like especially to Instagram, where it's like, yeah, this is where I communicate with my core group of people. So it's like it's basically like an open group chat in a way.
True, true. Anybody could come in and come out, at least in your who follows you or who might be on your close friends list and so on.
Yeah. So I like in that regard, I like it, especially on social media sites that are image based, particularly. Okay, I can't say that because Facebook is sort of image based, and I don't like it on Facebook. Like, I kind of hate it on Facebook. I've never
Yeah.
watched a Facebook story. That's how
I
much
mean,
I dislike it.
I've watched Facebook stories. Like I've watched probably a handful of Facebook stories, honestly. I don't I don't get it on Facebook. Um to
It's
be
like
honest. Like
it's kind of like that's your entire concept, right?
yeah. I
And
like
like,
I think I just hate Facebook to be if I'm going to be very honest. If I'm going to be completely blunt, I think I just hate Facebook.
yeah, I don't think
Uh
anyone under the age of like 50 at least likes Facebook.
I mean, I would argue that because there's a lot of people like every time I go on Facebook, there's always something there. So it's like if there's something there, then that means people gotta like it, right? But
I guess
I don't know. I don't see how stories. The funny thing is, Facebook owns like 75% of the companies we're talking about. Or some of the apps we're talking about. Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook. That's three, or maybe 50%, and then Snapchat, Spotify now, and what was the last one? Twitter.
Twitter,
Uh,
yeah.
the funny thing is though, like you were saying, you could understand it in image-based apps, I feel like all social media is moving towards image-based. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but okay, like look at something like Twitter. Twitter is still, to me, Twitter is still
Heavily
n-
text.
heavily text. It's not as media based, right? And stories on Twitter just seem redundant to me. I got the update and I didn't understand why they did it, because it's
Yeah,
like this is all Twitter is. It's like all Twitter is stories,
yeah,
basically. Like
yeah,
you just fire out a quick tweet or whatever you're thinking about, and like it's like the same concept. It's like everyone could retweet it or like respond to you directly or something. It's basically like all of Twitter is just stories in a way.
yeah, it's short enough to I can see where you're coming from there, and I actually think that this makes it harder for content creators now, like,
I
having
think it makes it
stories on
harder.
more
Okay.
like, having stories on more platforms means more places that you have to update. Like, there's one person that I follow who posted a story, um, on Instagram, a different story on Twitter. And then, again, like, they're always bouncing between, uh, Instagram, Twitter, and then YouTube because they stream on YouTube. And it's just like they're constantly like, each time I see their story is up and I look at it, it's like, okay, you like, I guess you were just on Twitter at the time that you were thinking about this, so you put it on Twitter,
Yeah.
but then on Instagram, it's like something else. Like, I think it's just having stories in more places is just I feel like it's almost becoming redundant. Like, you're just why is it needed in so many places?
I would actually argue that it's good for content creators that want to uh develop more or like pull in more of an audience. Just because like it's just one extra place for people to find you.
Yeah, I could get that, but you have to admit that like, I wouldn't say curating, like, it really depends on how seriously you take your stories because there's some people who go all out for their stories. Um, like, it just becomes another place where you have to post.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, we're looking at it as, well, nerds and somewhat introverted nerds. So it's like
That's a solid point.
we're
You ain't gotta
we're
call me out like that.
sorry to get too real on you. But like, yeah, uh, I don't post that much. Like when I start posting, I post a lot and then I like disappear for months. But for
Yep.
most people, they well, not for, I can't say for most people, but for a lot of people, they like posting stuff and like you give them an extra place. I think that's why it's so successful and that's why it's like everywhere on all these social media sites, is because you give them an extra place to post and they're gonna post there.
Yeah, they're gonna post, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the funny thing is, the way I'm trying to look at this too is Spotify might be doing it in a slightly different format, like, and the reason I say that is because YouTube has their equivalent of stories as well, but
No, they don't.
it's it's different because it's not necessarily like, it's the same vertical format, but, it's not necessarily like a post that you make for a story specifically. It's just like short videos in vertical format that are suggested to you based on the tags associated with videos you recently watched. So for those of you who don't know, when you open up YouTube, whether it be on the app or on your desktop, on a browser somewhere, and you're on the homepage, if you look right below the search bar, there's a ton of little tags there, and that's relevant to content that you've watched. I've noticed that a lot of people don't recognize that that's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I didn't until you pointed it out. I was like, okay, cool. I guess you could
Yeah,
like
it's been
sort
there
your
for a while.
content by, yeah,
That's exactly what it's for.
yeah, it
Like,
seems
you can
useful.
actually it seems useful, like, I mean, so for me, like, my top things are, like, driving, stocks, Tesla, stuff like that, right? So if you hit any of those tags, it'll show you videos with those tags in it that are hopefully useful to you. But I think the way YouTube's algorithm also works is their equivalent of stories is simply just videos that contain some of those tags, and they're short enough to be called a story, and by short enough, I think, like, less than a minute, and they put it in a vertical format, and then they show you it. That's it. That's what stories are on YouTube.
I would love
So,
to see the statistics on those, like how much views they get, and how much of them are accidental. Because I think a lot of people are just like accidentally clicking that stuff. Like,
I
do you actually have? Do you use that to like find content?
not but, like, some of the videos, I will admit, do have, like, provocative titles, so I do click on it,
Wait, they
and
have
I would just
titles?
yeah, like, they would have, like, a like, it would show, like, the vertical, like, whatever you would call a vertical rectangle. It's just a rectangle, and, at
Yeah,
the
just a
bottom, like, it would
rectangle.
show yeah, just a rectangle, but it's standing up and not sideways, cool. And, it would have, like, the image of the start of the video or whatever, and it would just have, like, down at the bottom, whatever the video title is, and then you just click it, and it plays that. Some of them are relevant for me. So it's like, actually, I would say I use it, just to if I see something interesting, like, while I'm scrolling through my recommended, it's like, "Okay, well, I know it's short, I'll watch it."
I think you just touched on something there, which is like a major reason why there's stories everywhere. It's short.
Hmm.
Like short form content is just it's the reason TikTok is so popular, right? It's the
It's the
it's,
reason Vine,
it's the reason Vine RIP
RIP.
got so got so
Yo.
popular, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to like work that hard to get content. You just open it up and it's there and it's short. You can consume it quickly. So
That's one thing I will say, though. If I open a story and I see it's, like, a bunch of dots at the top, I don't watch it. That's too much.
yeah, that's like especially like for like when it's a personal story. Like if it was a friend, I'm not watching that. Are you
Yeah, nah.
crazy?
Nah.
It's
Like,
like
and so, like, I'm
if it's a
bef
celebrity or something or like a company, I'm like, oh, maybe they had an event. If it's just a person, it's
yeah.
like, oh, maybe they're going insane.
Like, I mean, I've seen, like, especially, like, back before COVID, I would see, like, people posting concerts and stuff, and it's like, I'm not about to sit here and click
Click
through.
through an entire concert.
Yeah, yeah. Like, unless they're a close friend where it's like, "Alright, I have to let me support them by viewing it." I'll just, like,
Like, how is that
speed
supporting
tap
them
through.
though? How's that?
Because they'll be like, "Oh, look, 23 people watched my story," and it's like,
Yeah,
it's like, "Okay, yeah,
yeah,
I'll
no.
boost your ego."
Yeah, no. If you're one of those people that post like 30 stories in a day, it's like you realize that there are only 24 hours in a day, right? You realize that, right? You know your life is
Yeah.
not that interesting. Like it's just not.
Maybe something really interesting happened, I don't that's not
It's
that
never
I
anything
don't watch it to
interesting.
know.
It's never like I've watched them. It's never anything interesting. It's like it's usually something that you could get out in like two stories at most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the point is Spotify is doing it now. I don't I mean, cool, I guess.
Well, they're testing it basically.
Yeah, they're public tests, so, I mean, you might be getting it in an update coming soon to you. I don't use Spotify, so I can't say that I'm gonna be seeing it. This
I mean,
doesn't
it's
even
the.
affect me.
I mean, it does. Well, I think it doesn't affect me. I mean, Spotify is basically the only music app I use. But I mean, I could just like ignore it, just like I ignore stories on YouTube, and Facebook, and Twitter.
That's a solid point. forgot to mention that you could just ignore it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I guess the whole reason for this was just like, why is it necessary? You know, that's the whole reason why I wanted to talk about it.
yeah. Well, it's not. I don't think anything on social media is necessary. I don't think that's the point, right?
That is a solid. That's a good point.
And there isn't that much. Like you could argue that okay, maybe the news on Twitter sometimes, but even that is like iffy because some like anyone could post to Twitter. So is it a reliable source to get your news from Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say, you know, again, social media is just it's just a manifest it's the internet manifestation of a phenomenon that, you know, has long plagued humanity, and that is needing to socialize.
Well,
So
that's who'd you get that from? Guangzhou? Yeah.
it's
That was Confucius,
that's a
right?
that's the E-Man special, you know? That's my pen name. But I don't know. We'll see how it develops. We'll see how stories in general develops. I really wonder what the next big thing for social media is because I feel like stories was kind of like the biggest development that we've had within recent years,
uh,
other than algorithmic changes.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else they can do in social media. Like, I'll be honest with you, bro.
Mm,
I don't I don't think it matters that much. I really don't think it matters that much because like no matter what they do on social media, it's just gonna be about posting pretty pointless
content.
content.
Yeah.
Except for our social media, because our social media content is important and useful and everyone should listen to it.
Always pay attention to it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of just like I don't know. This it's just distraction, you know.
That is a that is a that is a very good point. It really comes down to being a distraction, but sometimes distractions are needed, right?
Sure,
So
sure. Well, that's a good note to end on. Just remember we're not. Oh, I'm rushing the outro. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. Just remember, you know, hopefully it's been interesting. I just remember we're not scientists, we're not engineers, we're not philosophers either. Uh, we
although
just
we could be, philosophy TI that might be coming.
philosophy. Yeah, we're just a couple gamers that talk tech and social media apparently. All right, peace.
Peace.